Band's releasing its new album, 45 West 55th Street, on October 18th. Band's label,
Yes.
WildRoots Records. Tell me about WildRoots.
That's my label in partnership with my wife and roots artist Victor Wainwright. We started it uh, in the early 2000s when I started producing Victor Wainwright, who's a very successful Americana roots blues guy. You know, really great piano player, singer. And we started it together, the label, and I've expanded it to include other artists and most recently Novo Combo.
I love the room.
Oh yeah, this is where I make music, and it's a toy room and music room and everything.
Do you guys have kids yet?
No, I don't. I have kids from a previous marriage, but we
Ah,
do not have kids.
they don't come in and invade your space then.
No, no. We're the only kids around here for sure.
Yeah, Mickey Mouse is that up there? I don't know.
Yeah, we got Disney, Simpsons, Star Trek. You know, all the usual stuff.
So licensed out to Disney Records.
Ah,
They were so huge in the 60s.
yeah, I was like, are they still happening? I guess, right?
Um, I think it's the Hollywood imprint, which wasn't theirs, but, or maybe it was when Bob Pfeiffer was running it years ago in the 90s or the 2000s. But yeah, Hollywood Records might be Disney, which has got contemporary artists on it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think at the end of movies, because I'm a film critic as well, I think I still see Hollywood Records at the end of Disney flicks.
I'll have to look for that. You're right. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, you know, if you're into it, pitch them. Why not?
Well, you know what? It's a lot easier just to have your own label. Really, I mean, I've done both. I've had a couple of major record deals, and I've had, signed by other, independent labels that are bigger than us, and a lot of friends. And we find it's just better to do it yourself, because you retain your publishing and you retain things that you can do what you want to do. I find that, I'm happy with that arrangement.
I want to ask you about the major labels, but I was reading Steve Miller last night, and I didn't. I saw Steve Miller when he was a blues guy, and
Right.
they put him in at the Orpheum in Boston with Slade of all people, which I like Slade, and I like Steve Miller, but that is not a compatible bill,
No.
right? And they had
Right. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, Aerosmith with Mahavishnu Orchestra. It's like what?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely. That's funny. I was in a band that opened for Mob Vision Orchestra as well.
what band?
It was just when I was in Miami, I was just a kid. Uh, I had a local band. I mean, we did, we did covers to make money, but we also had original music. So we would get hired to open for bands at the University of Miami.
Ah,
And so Mahavishnu Orchestra was coming. And so, and we didn't know anything about them. And needless to say, they blew us away. I mean, it was like, holy mackerel. It's like, we better start practicing.
what is this? Right.
Yeah, it was amazing. And in fact, our guitar player, Joaquin Leovano, was so, it changed his life because he was just a regular rock player. But when he saw Mahavishnu, he totally got into fusion. And he ended up playing with Jean-Luc Ponty and a bunch of other people
Truly,
because it really set his, what he wanted to do.
that's
And
amazing.
yeah, and it affected us all. I mean, we all started as like, man, we got to get into odd time signatures and really, get hip to what they're doing because it was great too. Because not only was it super hip and progressive, they rocked. Those guys rocked, man. That's what was so great about Mahavishnu Orchestra. They weren't just like another jazz band or trying to fuse jazz rock. I mean, they rocked it, man. They really kicked ass.
What was the name of that band, and what did you play in it?
Well, I played bass, and it was called Sister Jass, Jass, and we had a gal singer out front who was very strong, kind of a Janis Joplin sort of thing,
Huh?
and we had we had two brothers in it, Jack and John Leovano, who I already told you about, and I think Jack goes by the name of Joaquin, which is his given name, Joaquin. And then on drums, we had my lifelong friend Eddie Zine, who I played with for years. In fact, we went on to play with Hall and Oates later, and many other things.
Yeah, I see all the instruments, so I didn't know what you were playing in which band. That was
Well,
the
I've always played both bass and guitar,
ah,
always, sort of almost from the beginning, really.
and you
And
play bass in Novo Combo.
yeah, I'm the bass player. I mean, I play some guitar and some keyboards and stuff like everybody does. But yes, my main gig is the bass player and a vocalist and
Yep,
songwriter.
Paul McCartney kind of thing.
I wish.
Well, yeah. Um, so what bands were you signed to major labels, and which labels?
Well, my first deal was with RCA, and it was a solo record. Um, and
Under
it
your
was
name?
yes, under my name, and it was called Hip Shot, and it was co-produced by Daryl Hall.
Oh
And,
wow.
I mean, Daryl was like my mentor, for a while there, and he got me the deal, and he believed in me, and we did that record, um, and I was playing with Hall and Oates at the time, and so was my friend Eddie Zine, my drummer friend. He was in the band too. A really great band. There's a lot of great live videos of us online, um, just great videos. In fact, the "She's Gone" video. Are you familiar with their song "She's
Oh
Gone"?
sure.
Yeah, great. My favorite Hall and Oates song. The one of us performing live. It's the most played version of "She's Gone" on YouTube. So you can. That's great to be able to see us back in those days. With my great friend Eddie, because Eddie has since passed away. So I love the guy, and it's really great to be able to see those great videos where we made really good music, and we were really young, and we left Miami because there wasn't really anything happening in Miami at the time, except for maybe like Casey and the Sunshine Band or something. And so we came up to New Jersey and heard about it, and I got contacted by Hall and Oates people because they heard a demo of my music,
Ah,
and they liked it, and but at the time they were looking for a bass player, and they said, "We like your tape, and also, would you like to play with Hall and Oates? There's an opening." And at the time, I passed because it was just Eddie and I went up there together with our ladies, and we were going to make it together. We're kids,
I,
we're going to
I,
stick
I
together.
get that. Yeah.
And so I passed the first time they asked me, and then it came up again, and then they said we actually need, whoever they got didn't work out, and so they said we actually need it. Would you consider doing it again? And we also need a drummer. So I was like, oh, okay, well, my best friend here let us both audition together because we play together, we're tight, and so they sent us some of their records. Back then you had to put record on the table and listen to it, and we learned a bunch of their stuff they wanted us to learn, and we were very innocent, so we went into New York with all this energy and optimism, and heck, we didn't get the gig.
Whoa.
Yeah, I mean, first time I ever went to New York to audition for anything, it was like, I thought, oh, okay, cool. It worked out. It was fun, and they were a great band. I mean, they played with great musicians, and Daryl and John both were great singers.
But
Great
they
singers.
didn't take you, but then they did take you.
Well, the first time I passed.
Right.
Yeah, I passed. But the second time, when it was with my drummer, we went and auditioned together, and they asked me, "Do you want to join?" I said, "Yeah," because
Ah,
take Eddie too, and we're in. So yeah, we both got the gig together, and that was like a dream because we went up, up to the big city together.
now
So it was great.
was Tommy Mottola managing them at the time?
Yes.
Ah, he hadn't gone to Columbia yet at that point.
No.
Right. Fascinating. So
Yeah.
you're in the Hall and Oates band. So how did you get the record deal? Did you present a demo to Daryl or John?
Well, like I said, originally Tommy, their manager, heard a demo of mine.
Oh, Tommy heard it.
Yeah, Tommy heard it, and he's the one that was had his he had his people call me and all that kind of stuff. So no, I just worked with Daryl, and Daryl and I just we I think he kind of considered me like his little brother or something. You know
Ah,
what I mean?
yeah.
It was one of those things that he liked what I did. He liked my energy on stage, and and then we started writing some songs together. And he realized I was a good songwriter. And then he just at some point said, "Hey, we need to get Stephen a deal here because he's happening." So he did, and we did that, and that was that for that record. And I eventually left Hall and Oates because I had a falling out with management. It had nothing to do with Daryl John; they were fine, but it was the business, it was management. Because I didn't have a lawyer or anything when I signed stuff with management. I had no
Yikes. Yeah.
representation. I was literally a kid with a guy behind the desk going, "Hey, kid, going to make his star." I mean, the whole story, the whole old story, and so he wouldn't let. So it was like a lot of hassle, and I had to deal with lawyers and crap, try to get out of my deal um, with him so I could move forward. So he kind of held me up for a while, and it wasn't pleasant.
And
But
was
hey,
there a second
you
major
live and
label
learn.
deal?
That was a major label deal. That was with RCA.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
which was
then,
very cool for me because as a kid, my older brother and my mom used to play a lot of Elvis records, and they were like always on RCA. So my total recollection of records is RCA records with the dog. In fact, there's the dog right there.
his master's voice.
Yes, I actually when I was on that label, they gave me one. I was like, that made it worth it right there.
You know what the interesting thing about RCA was? When they were putting the Jefferson airplane catalog together, because
Yeah.
I worked with Marty Ballin, the lead
Oh,
singer,
awesome.
for many years, like
Yeah.
25 years. I did his DVD. So RCA had everything perfect in the vaults. You could find any Elvis record and the serial number and all that stuff. They were very well organized, except because the Jefferson Airplane had grunt records, the master tapes were everywhere. RCA did not have them cataloged as perfectly as everything else under. So your album is probably in the vaults and filed properly. And unlike other labels, they know where your stuff is. Just an
I think,
interesting.
yeah, I think so. Yeah. And I don't think they got burnt up. I mean, there's some accidents that happened to some labels with all the tapes were destroyed, but I don't think those were. I think they're somewhere.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're very well done. So we can fast forward to today. Um, the road to the new band. How did you put that together?
Well, when I left Hall and Oates, and like I said, I was um, dealing with the legalities, trying to get free and I had some other managers that wanted to take me on after I got out of my mess. I never actually signed with them, but they were helping me out, and was I had some interest from some labels and some people, and so I went up to New York to put a demo together of my stuff. And I had a band. Eddie was with me, and on the demo we did, we had G.E. Smith from Saturday Night Live. I don't know if you know who G.E. is, right?
No.
G.E. was like the uh, music director on Saturday Night Live for years. He was married to Gilda Radner for a while.
Oh wow. Okay.
That guy, and also he played with Hall and Oates for a long time. That guitar player, really good. Anyway, he was on it, and a couple other friends of mine. And so I was doing that, and then went back to Florida again. I was staying over on the beach side at my mom's place with my wife, and I got a call one day, uh, uh, um, and it was Michael Shrieve, and I'm like, Michael Shrieve? You mean Santana Michael Shrieve? And he goes, yeah. I'm going, yo, well, what's up? Great, wow. Why are you calling me? And he said, well, I'm looking to put something together, and I was talking to Bill Aucoin, who was a famous manager. He managed Kiss.
Oh
He
sure.
managed, he managed Billy
Billy I-
Squire,
Billy
Billy
Idol.
Idol, tons of people. And Michael kind of knew him, and he was looking for people, and he called Bill up and asked him, said, I'm looking for start a band. Do you know anybody? And he said, yeah, I know. This is the guy you want to call. You want to call this guy Stephen Dees. This is the guy. And and he said, okay. And Michael reached out and found me. And I was going to New York anyway, back and forth between Florida and New York. And I said, well, I'm coming up. He said, well, let's get together and talk. So I went to his apartment at 45 West 55th Street.
Ah,
That's the name of the record. And that was his apartment. And I went there one day and met him, and we just hit it off immediately. Started talking about music and what we liked. And he played me some stuff other than Santana that I hadn't heard yet. And because I was a big Santana fan, so I was hip to Santana. And I was a Michael Shrieve fan, actually. I thought he was great. And we just hit it off, and we went over and started jamming at the rehearsal hall. And by the end of the day, we're like, let's start a band, kind of thing. And then we did, and we basically went. I had him come down to Miami where I was living, and I checked out to check people out down there because there were some good musicians. And then one of my managers that I was working with told us about Jack Griffith. He said, "You check this guy out. He's in town from West Virginia. Check him out. He's supposed to be pretty good." So I called Jack up and actually went to his apartment, and we just talked about stuff. I said, "Well, let's go down to the rehearsal place we got and let's play." And so Jack came down and we started jamming. We jammed a couple more times. We were like, Michael and I were like, "This is the guy. We want this guy, this kind of stuff." Because we were looking for people that were all strong, could write, could sing, play well, the whole package, and get along. Chemistry, very important. And so we got Jack there, and then we took it back up to New York, the three of us. And Michael placed an ad in the Village Voice. And so it was incredible. I mean, there must have been at least 100 people, seriously, reached out, wanted to audition. So we started auditioning constantly. And we weren't finding anybody that was right, And we were getting frustrated because because we knew what we wanted, Same thing. Somebody could sing, write, great, the whole thing. And so right to the end of the auditioning people, this gal came in named Karen, lovely, lovely gal, and we're excited about having a girl audition. We thought, this would be great, let's check her out, guitar player and singer, and so she came, and she realized that she wasn't right for us, but she goes, "You know what? I know a guy who's perfect for your band. He's the perfect guy. You don't have to look any longer. He's the one." And she said his name is Pete Hewlett. And she was absolutely correct. He came in, auditioned, we knew, like, boom, just like with the rest of us. You just know. It's immediate,
yep.
And on top of being really a talented guy, he was very funny and easy to get along with. So that, funny goes a long way in a band.
Now, this is recent, right? Because
No,
the album's new.
No, this is Novo Combo from back in the day, in the 80s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. We had two albums in the 80s, in the 81 and 82, 83. And this was back when we first put the band together. We're talking about in the Wayback Machine.
Oh, okay.
And this new album, we broke up after our second release on Polygram for a lot of business reasons again, not because of us so much. We loved each other, and we loved the band. We worked really hard to make it happen. But, business complications come in, big money, you go into debt, this, and, you got a lot of people pulling you crazy. So anyways, after all these years, the reason why we have another album out is because my great friend Eddie passed away a few years ago, and I started going through all of my stuff to, hear tracks with Eddie, to see what I had in my vaults, more or less. And then as I was going through stuff, I started hearing all this amazing Novo Combo stuff, some demos that we had done. And I just thought, wow, what a great band we were. I just really, it was like, wow, holy shit, what happened to that band, Because it was really special. And so then I just started, because the Beatles anthology had come out recently, where they released, songs that they never released before, demos and all that sort of stuff. And, live tracks, new stuff. So I sort of nicked the idea from them in our own little humble way, of course. And I started going through all our stuff, and I reached out to the guys. I said, we have some great demos here. some of these demos of the songs that made it actually did make it to the first record had more life than the record. They were great. I mean, they just sound so good,
The
you know?
spontaneity of the initial recording, I call it catching the butterfly, and the major labels always screw up and never put them out.
Well, that's true. I mean, because we would go in and we would have maybe 4 songs to do at a demo session, and we would record them all within 4 hours. You know, live, boom, here you go. And it was totally live, totally real, no fixing, no funny stuff. And so, and it sounds great. It's so exciting to hear that because, you know, for like ever since Pro Tools and everything, you know, I mean, I produce artists and stuff. And nowadays, you know, everything's perfect with a click track and, you know, and you can get it just perfect. But to me, you know, it's rock and roll, it's perfect is subjective, you know. And the energy on these tracks, these tracks are just great. I love them. So we have those on there. And then we have some songs that we have in the can that we never released before. And I heard them, it's like, what were we thinking? Why didn't we release these songs? You know, because there was the record company and producers involved telling us, you know, do this, do that. And but you know, so we have some of those, and then we did 5 new recordings. So we have a lot of new stuff that, you know, we did a couple remakes that turned out really well, and then other new stuff as well
Wow.
on this new album.
Did you ever hear of Willie Loco Alexander? He was on MCA, and he was the last, like one of the last members of the Velvet Underground. He replaced Lou Reed. Inadvertently,
Oh, okay.
they promised him it wouldn't be the Velvet Underground. He gets to London, it is. Well, Craig Leon produced him, and the demos are spectacular. And then they put the album out on MCA, and they homogenized the whole thing. Intentionally, they didn't want him to be him, and they lost out. History lost out. I mean, I got the demos. Very few people have them. So you're absolutely right. The accountants and the lawyers don't get it. They don't get what the spirit of rock in those demos, how essential they could be. What
That's
was
right.
what was the demo that got the deal for Polygram? Was it on? Is it on this?
Well, yeah. Um, um, Important songs that really got it, that were really important. One of them is City Bound E Train, which is called E Train Revisited. That's our remake on it. They were really big on that. They were big on a song that we also did on a demo called Tattoo, and a few other songs that also is on the demo. I mean, they liked us. They liked what we were about. And then I remember we did some demos, and then we also had a song that was very popular on the first album called Up Periscope. Did really well for us. And but we never even recorded it as a demo. So they actually heard that song live. And at that time when they heard us add that song to the set, they said, "Well, you don't even need to record it. We think it's a great song. We want to work with you. Let's sign you." So yeah, so it was a combination of playing, because you know in New York you can play everywhere. You know, we
Right.
played all the time. And they were always coming to see us because they were fans. And
Who
you
were
know,
the
there was
A&R in specifically for Polygram?
A&R.
Yeah,
Yeah, the people in A&R. But you know, back in those days, as you know, there was a lot of musical chairs
right.
at companies.
Yep.
And so lucky for us, there was a couple key people there that were still there even through president changes. So you know, we had those people that believed in us right from the start. Really, it was about convincing the whole, you know, the president and everybody else. You know, they have meetings, and you know how it goes.
Oh yeah,
That's what,
Peter Lubin was just on our show, and he, you know, he was at Mercury and
yeah.
other
Mercury
labels.
was actually affiliated with Polygram. Yeah, I think they own them or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I'll talk to the A&R guys from back then. We love getting the history on our show.
Sure.
I've got the Smithereens coming up at 4,
Awesome.
but you're such an amazing guest. I'd love to invite you back
Well, thanks.
because I'm in the middle of reviewing the record. I haven't fully reviewed it. I've just been jammed. Sorry,
Oh, cool.
but I got a top 40, and I you know, I'm reviewing the record, and now I'm glad I got more insight on it, Stephen, because yeah, it's this is important stuff. Art, the music, saving it. That's what we're all about, and you're doing it, and that makes me happy.
Oh man, that's great. We really appreciate the support from everyone that we're getting, and everybody's positive, and it's just great. We appreciate it a lot.
Yeah, we'll put this out on YouTube, and it goes on public access stations, cable stations around Massachusetts. I actually put it up on Telview, so any station in the country, wherever you all live in, if they have public access, they can pull it down off my Telview. So it's
Oh, cool.
accessible to everyone.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, we love playing Boston. I mean, we did really good up there. In fact, that was BCN, right? Remember
They're
BCN?
gone now, but yeah,
Yeah,
WBCN.
and what was the music paper there? The Boston Globe.
Phoenix, the Globe. The Globe
The Globe.
critic just passed away about 2 weeks ago. Steve Morse was very kind to me. He just passed away, but he was the big name in Boston. But there was the Boston Phoenix, the Real Paper, the Herald, and the Globe.
Yeah. Well, in the Globe. Yeah, in the Globe, we were Band of the Year
Oh, wow.
in '81. Yeah, we were very well received in Boston. We loved going up there, and BCN and the Globe really embraced us, gave us great reviews, and we're good for us.
Did
Yeah,
you play
yeah,
the Paradise Theater or the Channel?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I played there, and I played there with Hall and Oates, of course. I played there with Todd Rundgren and Ian Hunter. You know,
Oh, Ian's a dear friend, Ian and Trudy.
oh yeah, wow.
Because
Yeah.
his drummer is Steve Hawley, and Steve Hawley's one of my best friends. I don't know if you
Oh,
know Steve from Wings and Elton
Steve,
John.
wait a minute, Steve Hawley. He's a drummer.
Yeah. For Ian
I don't think
Hunter, Mott the
Yeah, I think
Hoople.
I'm pretty sure I met Steve Hawley. That sounds very familiar.
He knows everyone. Steve's the greatest guy.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
our time is running out, but if you like what we've done today and you want to come back, the door is open, and I'll be in touch with John Lappin.
Oh, great. Well, give a listen to the album because I'd like you to get into it, Joe.
Oh yeah, I'm going to review it. I've got my top 40, but I do film reviews too. I haven't even done Venom yet. It's been
Ah.
2 weeks. But
Okay, buddy.
hey man, thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me, Joe.
All right. Thanks,
Take
Stephen.
care.
Yep. Bye-bye.